Just days after slaughtering nearly 24 Christians, there are new reports that ISIS has burned 45 people to death in the western Iraqi town of al-Baghdadi, not far from the base where hundreds of Marines are training local Iraqi forces. More on that in just a minute, but first, a stunning response from the administration over concerns that it won't call Islamic terrorism by name. Today, Attorney General Eric Holder lashed out at Fox News for the criticism it's been getting.
We spend more time talking about what do you call it, as opposed to what do you do about it, you know? I mean, really, if Fox didn't talk about this, they'd have nothing else to talk about, it would seem to me. You know, radical Islam, Islamic extremism, I'm not sure an awful lot is gained by saying that.
The Obama administration talks tougher to Fox News than they do to ISIS. Who's the enemy anyway? Fox News or Islamic terrorists killing innocent people? KG, were you surprised to hear Eric Holder?
Yeah, why is he still talking? I thought he was leaving.
It's our
I don't
fault.
understand what's happening here. Yeah, but missing the issue. So Fox News is the bad guy because we report the truth, because we're not afraid of words. This is the head of the Department of Justice. Whose team is he playing for? Why is he criticizing us instead of the bad guys, instead of the people that are beheading and burning people alive? Like, how misdirected and off base is this? It's frightening.
Greg, and the media sits there and nods their head and go, oh, yeah, okay, so...
Well, they agree with them. I mean, they
Right.
hate Fox News because we keep kicking their ass every day in the ratings. It's not a complex defense.
Didn't they know domination is in?
Yes. Eric Holder keeps making the same mistake, and then he blames FNC for happening to report on it. That's the problem. But there is a reason why language is important. You had these Christians that were burned to death by ISIS. If you call them Christians, then how do the PLO, pro-PLO activists blame this on Jews? When Muslims kill Christians, there are no Jews in that equation. If you call them citizens, then that muddies the equation. That's why language is important, because language confuses the issue. You know, those Christians were decapitated, but it's our leadership with its inability to identify evil that truly is headless. There's no will, there's no leadership, it's just tweets and treats.
Dana, you know, there's an old saying in baseball. If you have rabbit ears, you're going to strike out. If you're up to the plate and you can hear the other team razzing you, you're hearing them. They are hearing Fox
Dana knows
News.
that.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to explain sports analogies.
Sorry about that.
Come on. Rabbit ears, yes. The easiest thing to do to get under Eric Holder's skin is to just mention Fox News, and he'll go ballistic, as if every other media outlet isn't carrying their water. It's really an impressive thing for him. Can I just mention one thing, though? When he's complaining that Fox News is suggesting that they should be more clear in their language, we're not the only ones. Let me give you a quick list. Former DIA, Defense Intelligence Agency Chief Michael Flynn said the very same thing. Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard of Hawaii, she's a Democrat. She actually fought in the war. She's just last night on the record with Greta, she said the exact same thing that we've been saying. Hillary Clinton, January 21st, 2015, just a month ago, said the same thing. So did Leon Panetta. But the most important person who said it is Egypt's President Abdel al-Sisi. He's the one who said that you have to call this what it is. And so it's not just Fox News, and that's why I think Eric Holder really just
And the Pope.
try to leave on a high note.
A parting shot.
Already.
Parting shot. Before I leave, I'm going to take one more shot.
It's not a parting shot. You know, I don't understand why this administration consistently goes after Fox. It's like you'd think he's on the payroll here, because all it does is drive up Fox's ratings. I don't get it. You're the number 3 or I mean, you're in the cabinet. You're an important person. Surely, coming down on Fox News is a little beneath you, or any media outlet. I don't understand it. Look,
trying to score points.
There's a point to be made about what he's saying. Dana, correct me if I'm wrong, but even President Bush didn't really like to refer to Islamic terrorism because he didn't like to show that
we're clear about
Right, he didn't want to
be very clear in saying there are extremists.
Correct.
And it was similar.
Right.
It was similar.
How'd that work out?
Well, but I'll tell you this. I mean, we don't want to have the concept out there that we're at war with Islam. We're at war with people who the president, I believe, wants to say is perverting Islam. But why? By punching down at Fox
But they're
makes no
Islamic
sense.
extremists.
And all
they're
we're
not
doing is pointing
Christian
out.
extremists.
And by the way, I think a lot of people would agree with some of the things that we're reporting. Here's something else, though. This is unbelievable. The State Department, their idea of how to win the war against ISIS. Check this out.
We cannot kill our way out of this war. We need, in the longer term, medium and longer term, to go after the root causes that leads people to join these groups. We can work with countries around the world to help improve their governance. We can help them build their economy so they can have job opportunities for these people. What makes these 17-year-old kids pick up an AK-47 instead of try to start a business?
Job opportunities. There are no words to describe how moronic Ms. Harf's comments are. No words. It's comments like those, however, that are eroding even the liberal support for the president's strategy of no strategy.
And what can we do? Can we do nothing? Can we just look at the pictures, ask what's for supper, what's on TV tonight? We all know we need a plan. We need a route that takes us to destroying ISIS, because the alternative is too sick, too un-American, too unhuman. We can't see people killed like this in our face and simply flip to the sports page or the financial news or what's at the movies or who's going to win the Oscars and act like America, our country, is not being morally humiliated, because it is.
Morally humiliated. When you lose the man you used to give a thrill up the leg to, you're losing the battle and the war, literally. Julie, I mean, are you still on board with this strategy of no strategy?
Well, you know, I think nobody's speaking truth to power here, because the problem is we need to actually face what we need to do to defeat ISIS. It involves a multi-decade commitment, troops on the ground, all of our manpower. You're talking about probably a 6 or 7 front war at this point in 6 or 7 different countries. And nobody...
Well, because we let it go this far.
And nobody on either... It's not because we wanted to go this far.
No,
we were in
we
Iraq.
let it because
No. That's not true. We were in Iraq for 10 years. The minute we pulled out, these guys pulled in.
But who said to pull out, and who failed to put in place a status of forces agreement that was
the Bush
sufficient
administration,
and to provide training?
But that's not the point. The point is that if we go back in, we have to stay there for decades, and nobody wants to say that. We want to talk about how we have to go back in there and kill these people. Well, killing these people requires spending decade upon decade upon decade nations building and probably
but you have
fighting
to do whatever it takes.
Fine.
You can't sit there and have fatigue. I'm suffering from restless leg and fatigue. I don't know what to do. I don't want to go over there.
I'm fine with that, but let's be honest about that.
Let me bring Dana here. Now, there is a case to be made for making sure that there are opportunities within an Islamic world. However, shouldn't we stop them from killing us first, if that means killing them first, and then having maybe assistance afterwards?
So a couple of things. I think that the State Department press office would do very well to utilize some of the subject matter experts that are in the building that are responsible for these areas and put them out on television and let them talk a little bit more about that. I mean, they don't always need to be on television and then tweet afterwards to explain, oh, well, actually, George Bush said this, so now, after denigrating him for 8 years, now I'm going to use him as my defense. She is talking about disaffected young people in the Muslim world that want jobs so that they don't become radicalized. You could actually make that case maybe for someplace like the million refugees that have fled Syria and are now living in Jordan, okay? And they're living in camps and they're young people. The problem with her argument is that most of the people that are going over to fight with ISIS are from middle-class families, stable families, and their radicalization is happening online.
And they're well-educated.
The first places, and also they have these things. So the first, as I learned today, the first place you go is Twitter. If you're like a 15, 16-year-old, 17-year-old kid, like, where can I learn more about this? Then they take you through, like putting gasoline on a fire. It could take days or months to completely radicalize somebody. Someone in the Taliban could never have reached a 15-year-old in America because they didn't have the technology. These are digitally successful, very smart people that are able to recruit young people. They're not looking for jobs.
So, right.
The State Department doesn't get that, though. Marie Harf thinks that we should open up car washes in Iraq and Syria and provide jobs to the evildoers, and then this problem will all go away.
So the timing. The timing. Well, people are still being beheaded, burned alive, 45 people, and we're talking about job opportunities.
Talking about economic motivations allows you to ignore the religious motivations. It's the most obvious answer. This is what they're doing. The jihad is not because they can't get a job at Arby's.
Right.
As a law-abiding American who has to eat and sleep and work, knowing that you have these chuckle buckets protecting our freedoms in the face of the first cohesive caliphate in a millennium. We are led by a pod of dorm room resident advisors. I cannot take this woman seriously.
No.
She really, when you listen, it sounds like an outtake from the 40th anniversary of Saturday Night Live. If this were a corporation, you would escort these clowns out of the building with their cat calendars and their Zen gardens and their cardboard boxes, and it's a model UN that must end. This is not Epcot Center. This is the damn White House, the State Department, the United States of America. This is a joke. I'm sorry. When you compare evil with purpose to evil with incompetence, evil with purpose almost seems more appealing.
So the new CNN poll out today said 57% of Americans disapprove of how Obama's handling the threats by ISIS. And you couple that with 4,000 troops headed over to Kuwait right now. They'll be the first to battle. And Marie Harf suggests job opportunities may be the real way we should be fighting.
Send a resume
It's
builder
laughable.
out.
She shorthanded
It's
it.
incomprehensible.
No, look, she shorthanded it. She has some education and some expertise on this matter. Okay, she has a degree in Middle East studies. She worked at the CIA. She's at the State Department. The difference being that they seem to be caught in this world of talking points, and then they get themselves on television in a place where they can't actually articulate these more complicated thoughts. That's why I think they should try to find Richard Stengel, Patrick Kennedy, Tony Blinken. Where's Samantha Power? Where's Susan Rice? And put them on television.
This is, again, because I think the American people, they believe, are not ready to hear what it takes to defeat these people. And the reality is nobody on either side...
Do you think they...
Well,
do you think that they are not talking to the American people because they think we're not ready to hear it?
Do you think that this president,
president,
after making a commitment when he ran to get us out of the Middle East, is prepared to go before the American people and say, hey, this is what it's going to take to defeat them. We've got to go back in.
That's his job.
This is the problem.
Because I don't think the American people want to do that. They just don't.
You have to. The leader of the free world, if we can still call the president of the United States that, the leader is supposed to say, I know you don't want to hear this, but I'm telling you, this is what we have to do because the consequences of us not acting are X or Y.
Are great.
The problem is they start with a conclusion. Their conclusion is, we don't want to send troops back to Iraq. Their conclusion is, we don't want a global war on terror. And then they work backwards, rather than saying, we need to protect the country. Here's our goal, here's our strategy, and here's how we're going to do this going forward. It's going to be unpleasant, but it's a commitment that we have to make.
But the bigger problem is when you watch this, you're watching this and you can't believe it's the United States.
You can't.
I know a waiter in an improv class that could pull this off better than her. I sit there and I go, how far is this country sunk? It really is like watching camp counselors putting on a Friday night, a play in front of the campfire. It's
no,
sick.
you're right. It's an extremely poor choice.
Let me get this, KG. Stay right there. The White House refuses to call the enemy Islamic terrorists. And get this, they won't call the beheaded Egyptians Christians. In a statement, it would only refer to them as citizens. Reaction to that from Tony Perkins and Charles Krauthammer. Listen.
ISIS made very clear in this video that this was an attack, this was a execution of people, quote, people of the cross. What we're seeing unfolding before us in the Middle East is genocide.
Now, we have an administration that is truly pathological in its inability to actually state what's going on. When the Pope, who is not exactly a Christian militant, who isn't exactly a revanchist on behalf of Christ, says that these people were killed because they were Christian, and the administration says that the ones who were killed were Egyptian citizens, you've got a serious problem.
All right, they want us to do a quick round on the KG.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he's absolutely right. It is. It's pathological, their refusal to just embrace. They're scared of words. They're frightened. And the person they choose to go out is somebody like Marie Harf. I mean, we're losing ground here, let alone in the Middle East. Like, why isn't there some courage? I feel like I'm in the Wizard of Oz, and the United States is now like the cowardly lion. Like, have some heart, have some courage.
Julie, can we tick off ISIS more by calling them Islamic terrorists?
No, and here's the problem. For a very long time, I actually did not want to refer to this as Islamic terrorism because I didn't want to make this look like a holy war between Islam and Christianity or Islam and the West.
Who's gonna get mad?
Unfortunate, not because anybody's going to get, well, a billion of the world's Muslims who don't agree with this philosophy. However, I will say now that whether we want to do that or not, ISIS has made this a holy war. They're going after these Copts because they're Christian. And so for us to not to pretend that this is not a holy war. That's what they've made it, whether we like that or not.
You're
That's
right.
the concern.
Bring it around, Dane.
I think that we constantly make a mistake, and this is just maybe human nature, and perhaps they are doing that with us as well, which is we are looking at their culture and society and trying to put it into our norms. That's not how they look at it. And so I think that the language matters. That's why when the president, at the prayer breakfast, when he made allegations to the Crusades,
Yeah.
if you look at Inspire magazine, which is the recruiting tool for Islamic terrorism, it is rife with talk about the Crusades. That was one of the things that was so mishappen about that. When the president did that, it really spoke exactly to how they see us rather than how we should see them.
Final thought.
ISIS is. I understand ISIS. It's an apocalyptic mission. They know exactly what they're doing. But we're dealing with our own apocalyptic mission, and it is one that is built on incompetence and cluelessness. The end of times can come by our own stupidity. ISIS's growth is due in large to our anemic, impotent leadership.
Very good.
No,
We're going to have to leave it right there, you guys. Next, we're going to go live to the White House where a 3-day counterterror summit kicked off today. Islamic extremism is, of course, off limits. Ed Henry joins us back in a minute.